Ghostly tales, yet mirrors of human life. Hey, everyone! Welcome to Encountering Chinese. Ghostly Tales from Liao Zhai. Today, I'm going to tell you two short stories. The first story is titled Reincarnate 3 Times. In Chinese legends, it is believed that after people die, they become ghosts and drift into another world known as the underworld. Ghosts are judged in the underworld, and if a person was good in their previous life, they will be reborn into a wealthy family and live a worry-free life. If a person committed many evil deeds in their previous life, they may be reborn into a poor family or even become an animal in their next life. Before being reincarnated, everyone is required to drink a soup called Mangpo's soup, which makes them forget their past lives. However, some people are accidentally skipped during the soup drinking ritual, and they retain memories of their past lives while living in the mortal world. Today, we will tell a story related to reincarnation and rebirth. There was a scholar surnamed Lu, and for our purposes, we'll call him Mr. Lu. Mr. Lu often told others that he could remember his past life. My elder brother, Wen Ben, who passed away, was also an imperial scholar in the same year as Mr. Lu. He had vividly described his past life to my brother. In his first life, Mr. Lu was a high-ranking official who engaged in many immoral and corrupt activities. He died at the age of 62. When he first met the king of the underworld, the king treated him with great respect upon seeing his official attire. The king invited him to sit down and had servants bring tea to serve him. Mr. Lu discreetly examined the tea in the king's cup, which was crystal clear, while the tea in his own cup was turbid like sweet rice wine. He secretly suspected that this might be the legendary Mangpo's soup in the underworld. So, when the king wasn't looking, he quietly lifted his cup and poured the tea out from the corner of the table. He then pretended that he had already finished the tea. A while later, the king checked the Book of Life and Death and found records of his many evil deeds during his lifetime. The king became furious and ordered the demons to drag him off the hall and sentenced him to be a horse in his next life. Immediately, a demon bound him and took him away. The demon led him to the doorstep of a family's home with a high threshold that he couldn't step over. While he hesitated and looked around, the demon struck him forcefully. In pain, he fell to the ground. When he regained consciousness and looked at himself, he realized his body was under a horse trough. He could only hear someone saying loudly, "The black horse has given birth to a colt, and it's a male." He understood everything but couldn't speak. He felt extremely hungry and had no choice but to crawl under the mother horse to suckle. After 4 or 5 years, his body grew tall and strong, but he was especially afraid of being whipped. Whenever he saw a whip being raised, he would run away in fear. When the owner rode the horse, they used proper horse equipment and loosened the reins to let the horse run slowly, so he didn't find it too burdensome. However, when the servants and stablemen rode the horse without any gear, they used their ankle bones to strike the horse's belly, causing him excruciating pain. He became extremely resentful and refused to eat grass for 3 days, eventually starving to death. He returned to the underworld once again, and the king of the underworld reviewed his life and death record. He found that his punishment was not yet complete and reprimanded him, accusing him of trying to escape intentionally. The king then ordered the demons to strip the horsehide from his body and sentenced him to be a dog in his next life. He felt extremely despondent and didn't want to be reincarnated. At this moment, the demons came forward and mercilessly beat him once again. In excruciating pain, he fled to the wilderness. He thought it might be better to end his life and angrily jumped from a cliff, falling to the ground unable to move. When he checked himself again, he realized he was lying in a dog's den, with a mother dog licking and nursing him. That's when he knew he had returned to the human world once more. As he grew a bit older, he recognized that filth and urine were impure, but they smelled good to him. However, he made a firm decision in his heart not to consume them. During his year as a dog, he often felt furious and contemplated suicide. Yet, he feared that the king of underworld would accuse him of trying to evade punishment, which might lead to harsher penalties. Moreover, his owner treated him with affection and training, refusing to kill him. So, he deliberately bit off a piece of flesh from his owner's thigh. Enraged, the owner beat him to death with a cudgel. Upon encountering him, the king of the underworld conducted a detailed inquiry into his situation. Enraged by his ferocious and insane behavior, the king lashed him hundreds of times and then condemned him to become a snake. Consequently, he was locked in a dark chamber, devoid of any daylight. Feeling extremely suffocated, he crawled along the walls until he reached the roof. He created a hole in the ceiling and escaped from the room. Bathed in sunlight, he examined his body again and found himself lying amidst lush vegetation, having transformed into a snake. With determination, he vowed not to harm other living creatures and would consume only plants and fruits when hungry. In this manner, over a year passed. He often contemplated that suicide was not an option, being beaten to death was undesirable, and he yearned for a preferable way to die but struggled to find one. One day, as he lay in the grass, he suddenly heard the sound of a passing carriage. He quickly darted out and stood in the middle of the road. The carriage raced by, crushing him into 2 pieces. The king of the underworld was astonished when he saw him and asked why he had returned to the underworld so quickly. He knelt on the ground, crawling on his knees, and confessed his intentions to the king. Finally, the king of hell decided that he had been unjustly killed and granted him forgiveness, approving his reincarnation as a human after serving his sentence. He was reborn as Mr. Liu. Mr. Liu, with memories from his past life, could speak from the moment he was born. When it came to literature, history, and classics, he only needed to read them once to memorize them. In the year of Xinyu, Mr. Liu passed the imperial examination and became a jurin, shortly after coming of age. He often advised people to use proper horse equipment, such as saddles, and to avoid the painful leg clamping punishment, which hurt more than whipping. In the end, the author offers this commentary. Among the long-haired, long-horned beasts and birds, there may indeed be officials like Mr. Liu from his past life. The reason for this is that even high-ranking officials may not necessarily be anything more than demons in human skin. Therefore, when ordinary people do good deeds, it is in the hope of improving their future, those at the top of society do good deeds to ensure their prosperity and longevity. Accumulated good deeds can make an ordinary person become better and better, while those who are already wealthy can use good deeds to prolong their lives of riches. Otherwise, in the next life, they may be reincarnated as horses, burdened with pulling carts and enduring fetters. Alternatively, they may be punished to become dogs, eating filth and drinking urine, subject to the whims of others. Failing that, they may be punished to become snakes, covered in scales and armor, only to die in the belly of a crane or stork. The second story is titled Ghostly Wailing. During the Xie Rebellion, the residences of local officials were occupied by the rebel forces as their strongholds. Among these, the mansion of scholar Wang Qixiang was particularly crowded with insurgents. However, in the end, government troops breached the city, sweeping through and exterminating all the rebels. For a while, the bodies lay scattered on the steps of the courtyard, and blood flowed all the way to the outer gate. Afterward, Wang Qixiang returned to his mansion. He carried out the bodies, cleaned away the bloodstains, and took up residence again. But in the mansion, he often encountered ghosts during broad daylight. At night, phosphorescent fires would dance under the bed, and in the corners of the walls, there were constant sounds of ghostly wailing. One day, a scholar named Wang Haodi was lodging at Wang's house. He lay in bed, hearing a faint voice from under the bed repeatedly calling, "Haodi! Haodi!" After a while, the voice grew louder, and it cried out, "I died so miserably, I died so miserably." Not long after, sobs were mixed in with the cries, and these sobs triggered a chorus of weeping in the courtyard. Wang Qixiang also heard the crying and, holding a precious sword, burst into Wang Haodi's room. In a loud, assertive voice, he said, "Don't you ghostly creatures recognize Lord Wang Qixiang?" At this point, all he heard was a chorus of mocking sounds from the surroundings, as if those ghostly creatures were collectively ridiculing him. Therefore, Wang Qixiang established a shrine, inviting monks and Taoist priests to recite scriptures, make penitential offerings, and perform rituals to free the souls of the departed. During the night, when the monks and Taoist priests were scattering ghost rice, they noticed phosphorescent fires flickering all around. Initially, there was a gatekeeper named Wang in the Wang family mansion who had been seriously ill and unconscious for several days. That evening, he suddenly stretched and moved his limbs as if he had just awakened from a nap. His wife fed him some food, and the gatekeeper said, "Just now, the master, for some reason, was distributing food in the courtyard, and I joined in with everyone else, eating heartily. I've already eaten, so I'm not hungry now." From that day on, the apparitions and supernatural occurrences ceased. Could it be that the rituals, prayers, and scriptures chanted by the monks and Taoist priests had truly been effective? In the end, the author provides this commentary. Evil spirits and demons can only be tamed and transformed by one's own virtue. When the soldiers breached the city walls, officials like Wang Qixiang wielded immense power, causing ordinary people to tremble at the mere sound of their voices. However, the spirits were unafraid and dared to mock him. I suspect that these spirits foresaw that individuals like him wouldn't meet a good end. So, I offer this advice to individuals like Wang Qixiang. If you act so fearsome that even ghosts aren't afraid of you, then perhaps you should refrain from pretending to be a ghost to intimidate others. Alright. That's all for today's ghostly tales. Reincarnate 3 times, and ghostly wailing. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please also encourage everyone to comment and share more. We'll see you in the next episode.